Ever since I began architecture, I had an abhorrence to conventional architecture offices. There was something about the atmosphere of redundancy, routine, and production that made me allergic to all forms of specialization. 10 years ago, we founded our office in Berlin as a result of a decision, an accident, a rumor on the street, and began an unimaginable journey down a path on which we're still traveling. The projects have developed in an unexpected direction through a practice which does not mimic existing producers, but attempts to break through into the excitement, adventure, and mystery of architecture by dropping the designation form, function, program, and engaging in the public and political realm, which is synonymous with architecture. The celebration of drawing into building the path of production and the dreamlike routines configure into a substance that is not identifiable of any drawing board. The magic of architecture cannot be appropriated by any singular operation, because it is always floating, progressing, rising, flying, breathing. Whatever the problem, political, tectonic, linguistic, with architecture exposes, one thing I know is that only the intensity and passion of its call make it fun to engage in its practice. My work addresses a multidimensional problematic which, at least in retrospect, seems to have the logic of a certain path. The new building of Denver Art Museum will be an icon whose character and form will attract a wide public to the museum complex. Nexus is conceived in close connection with the function of aesthetics of the existing Ponte Museum as well as the entire Civic Center and the public library. The new building is a nexus typing together downtown and Civic Center, forming a strong connection to the Golden Triangle neighborhood. The project is not designed as a standalone building but as a part of a composition of public spaces, monuments and gateways in this developing part of the city, contributing to the synergy amongst neighbors, large and intimate. Here you can see some of his projects. Rhythm is an attribute of any object that is marked by a systematic recurrence of elements, having recognizable relationships between them. In architecture, much of the effects of a building will depend on the harmony, the simplicity, and the power of these rhythmical relationships. There are many types of rhythm, which are of special importance on buildings. First, there is the repetition of shapes. Windows, doors, columns, wall areas, arcs, and the like. Second, there is a repetition of dimension. Also, rhythm lines can be merely systematic variation of linear length or curvature. Rhythm is something very important for Daniel Libeskind. He uses lines and angles to create rhythm and harmony to the buildings. Also, volumes are very important for Daniel Libeskind. He tries to intersect every type of geometrical shape and volume in order to create a totally with harmony and beauty. The Nussbaum House is another example of rhythm marked by lines and volumes. This building tells a unique and particular story which crystallizes Royal Ontario Museum's programmatic context and the singularity of the site. The crystal transforms the secretive and fortress-like character of the Royal Ontario Museum turning it into an inspired atmosphere dedicated to the resurgence of the museum as a dynamic center of Toronto. This is one of the most important projects of Daniel Libeskind. It intends to rebuild a building in Ground Zero in New York, replacing the Twin Towers. The single biggest Libeskind legacy is the Freedom Tower. Libeskind, the master site planner for the World Trade Center site, envisioned a tower with aerial gardens and windmills with an off-center spire reaching a symbolic 1,766 feet high. Libeskind thumbed his nose at the request to place it in a more rentable location next to the World Trade Center. When I first began this project, New Yorkers were divided as to whether to keep the site of the World Trade Center empty or to fill the site completely and build upon it. I meditated many days on the seemingly impossible dichotomy. To acknowledge the terrible death which occurred on this site while looking to the future with hope seemed like two moments which could not be joined. I thought to find a solution which would bring these seemingly contradictory viewpoints into unexpected unity. So I went to look at the site, to stand within it, to see people walking around it, to feel its power and to listen to its voice. And this is what I heard, felt and saw. The great slurry walls are the most dramatic elements which survived the attack. An engineering wonder constructed on bedrock foundations and designed to hold back the Hudson River. The foundation withstood the unimaginable trauma of the destruction and stand as eloquent as the Constitution itself, asserting the durability of democracy and the value of individual life. The Great Slurry Walls are the most dramatic elements which survived the attack. An engineering wonder constructed on bedrock foundation and designed to hold back the Hudson River. The foundation withstood the unimaginable trauma of destruction and stand as eloquent as the Constitution itself, asserting the durability of democracy and the value of individual life. We have to be able to enter this hallowed, sacred ground while creating a quiet, meditative, and spiritual space. We need to journey down some 70 feet into Ground Zero, onto the bedrock foundation, a procession with deliberation into the deep, indelible footprints of Tower 1 and Tower 2. The foundation, however, is not only the story of tragedy but also reveals the dimension of life. The path trains continue to traverse this ground now, as before, linking the past to the future. Of course, we need a museum at the epicenter of Ground Zero, a museum of the event, of memory and hope. The museum becomes the entrance into Ground Zero, always accessible, leading us down into a space of reflection, of meditation, a space for the memorial itself. This memorial will be the result of an international competition. Those who were lost have become heroes. To commemorate those lost lives, I created two large public places, the Park of Heroes and the Wedge of Light. Each year on September 11th between the hours of 8:46 a.m. when the first airplane hit and 10:28 a.m. when the second tower collapsed, the sun will shine without shadow in perpetual tribute to altruism and courage. We all came to see the site, more than 4 million of us, walking around it, peering through the construction walls, trying to understand the tragic vastness. So I designed an elevated walkway, a space for a memorial promenade encircling the memorial site. Now everyone can see not only Ground Zero but the resurgence of life. The exciting architecture of the new Lower Manhattan rail station with the concourse linking the PATH trains, the subway connected, hotels, a performing arts center, office towers, underground malls, street-level shops, restaurants, cafes, created a dense and exhilarating affirmation of what is in New York. The sky will be home again to a towering spire of 1,776 feet high. The gardens of the world. Why gardens? Because gardens are a constant affirmation of life. A skyscraper rises above its predecessors, reasserting the preeminence of freedom and beauty, restoring the spiritual peak to the city, creating an icon that speaks of our vitality in the face of danger and our optimism in the aftermath of tragedy. Life victorious. Daniel Libeskind.